Aloha, my name is Aaron Oya. Today we're going to talk about a mortise and tenon neck joint on the ukulele, specifically a bolt-on mortise and tenon neck joint. Now right in front of me right here is the jig that I use. We're not going to go into actually making a mortise and tenon neck joint today. It's not actually this high, it's propped up a little bit, but for the builders out there, you know, I've made this one. There are plans on the internet. You can actually purchase mortise and tenon neck jigs. They might be a little pricey, but let's go into why we do a mortise and tenon neck joint on an ukulele. Now, there are a lot of builders out there and some players as well too that would say that the mortise and tenon neck joint on an ukulele, 4 strings, nylon strings, not a whole lot of tension. So this joint may be a little overkill for it. And I would tend to agree with that. You know, you'll normally see a bolt-on mortise and tenon neck joint on higher tension instruments such as steel string guitars and other instruments of that nature. But there's a number of reasons for me why I do a mortise and tenon neck joint on the ukulele. Actually, there's a lot of reasons why I do a mortise and tenon neck joint on the ukulele. But one of them is I used to do a bolt-on butt joint, which means this is just a square, straight joint right against the body of the instrument. And what would happen is it was very difficult for me to get a nice, tight joint in this area. You know, you sand one side, you sand the other side, and to get it gap free is very difficult. So the mortise and tenon neck joint allows me to actually what we call flossing the cheeks, if you can believe that. Floss the cheeks of the heel and get a nice tight joint in there, very even, very solid. Now in doing that, what it also does is when the bolts go on and we pull this neck joint in, it actually pulls it in straight. So when you start flossing the cheeks of the heel of the neck, you end up doing this. Doing the mortise and tenon neck joint is very controlled. You know, you floss one side, floss the other side, pulls it in nice and straight. So you end up with an uneventful pull on here, and it comes in nice, straight, and tight. And what that means is once everything is all pulled in, you end up center line from the headstock to the tail block. Everything is straight, your bridge is centered, you're not ending up moving the bridge left and right, which I've seen on some builds, probably not custom builds, but that is not an issue at that point in time. Another thing that this mortise and tenon neck joint allows me to do is it allows me to finish the instrument and spray the body and neck separately. You know, I have a few holders on it that I'll bolt in on here. I can hang it. If we're oiling the finish, it allows you to let it dry separately, along with the neck as well too. The nice thing about this is you don't end up, especially for those of us that are finishing instruments, you don't end up piling up a lot of finish right inside this joint right inside here. And you know, for those of us that have finished instruments with the neck and body attached, you know what I'm talking about, where finish ends up collecting right in here and you end up with this line of finish in there. What's nice is you get to have a nice even finish right across the surface of this heel block over here of the neck, although the heel of the neck I should say. Now it also allows us to buff the instrument. I'll do high gloss finishes on my instruments, and for those of us that do high gloss finishes, I use a stand mounted buffer. We all know the trials and tribulations we have of the infamous catch and throw of the instrument in trying to get that, you know, buffer and sanding out in this joint. You end up being uneven sometimes, and it's just, you got to pay a lot of attention to that. By doing it separately, it's a lot easier to get a lot nice, cleaner joint. As far as buffing, now the buffing of the instrument, you can do it one time, buff the neck separately, and then once it comes time to actually glue it all together, a lot of us glue it, some of us don't, you can Dremel off, Fortem off, chisel off the finish where the joint is, and once you get those 2 bolts going in and you bring that neck in, tighten it up, you end up with a nice, high gloss, gap-free, solid, straight finish on the instrument, just based on and I'll call it a simple bolt-on mortise and tenon neck joint.